Hey there everybody, my name is Kat Bowser. I'm your resident fantasy therapist. Welcome back to my channel. Those of you here for the first time, welcome. My name is Kat Bowser. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm also a writer working on my first two novels, one the start of a series, one a standalone. And on my channel, I like to talk about the psychology in writing. Psychology behind the characters, behind the world building, behind the relationships, all that kind of stuff. Because to me, what makes a book interesting are the characters. And what makes characters interesting is their psychological makeup. So that's kind of the focus I like to take on almost everything I talk about on my channel. So today I wanted to talk about a specific world building tip that I personally use. And that is the utilization of the dinner table. So this may sound like a weird tip, but let me explain what I'm talking about. So the dinner table world building tip that I use is essentially that the best place to give your reader information on characters, culture, history is at the dinner table. The reason I say this is because there is a lot of psychological stuff that typically occurs over meals. So when I say dinner table, I don't technically mean there has to be a dinner table. I'm talking about the event of sharing meals with other characters or even by themselves. So I think there's a lot of elements that go into this. One, I will say it's a lot of fun to write about different foods. I know a lot of writers say they enjoy doing that. They like adding the detail in, and they are fun to read. Some writers can go a little too much in detail and linger on it a little bit long, but regardless, it's usually fun to read. When it comes to culture, I think it is an excellent way to show different aspects of your culture. And I think sometimes people forget about this element because we're so used to it. We get so used to how things operate in our own culture that when we write about it, we don't really think about it unless we are specifically writing or talking about a culture that is different than our own. And then the contrast draws our own traditions and stuff into the light. But you can learn a lot about a people by not only what they eat, but when they eat and how they eat. For instance, even though you're not necessarily laying it out for your reader, what if you have a culture that does not eat meat, for instance? Now you could come outright and say such and such people were vegan or vegetarian or did not indulge in meat, or however you want to phrase it. But I always think it's better to show when you can. There's obviously points where telling is fine, but I think if you can show it, you should. And a good place to do that is just describing an average meal. Readers aren't stupid. I think sometimes writers feel like they have to kind of spoon feed info, and you really don't have to. If I'm reading a book and every meal that the characters eat has no meat in it, I can kind of draw my own conclusion from that. Likewise, if you have, let's take the same culture that doesn't eat meat, and let's have them interact with a character who usually does. Now, first time they sit down to a meal together, maybe nothing happens, but second or third time, if the other character is not aware, they might raise, hey, where is the chicken? Where's the beef? That kind of scenario, and be told, well, we don't eat meat, or some kind of scenario like that. And not only is it a good way to show the cultures that you're talking about, but it's a good way to show how they view one another too. Like, is this something that the characters are going to tease each other about? Is this something that they highly respect? That kind of thing. The other thing is, I will say, having worked in a mental health hospital for 8 years and having worked in mental health since 2008, you will never find out more information from especially young kids than you will if you share a meal with them. There is a camaraderie in sharing meals. And I think it really dates back to like a long time ago when we were gatherers and hunters. When you sat down and shared a meal with someone, you would only share your kill or your bounty or whatever you want to call it with people that you trusted and that people that were close to you. So it was an indication of trust and love. And this is still true in a lot of cultures. My husband is half Latvian. My mother-in-law is full-blooded Latvian. And one thing I had to get used to is in their culture, it is not uncommon to offer other people at the dinner table a bite of your food right off your plate. Like, hey, do you want a bite of this? Do you want to taste this? Come taste this. Because food equaled love. And in Latvia, food, especially in winter, could be very scarce. So you would only offer it to someone who you really cared about. And rejection of this is very rude. It is seen as the food I'm offering you is not good enough. Seen as very pompous. So you would always accept, even if it was a food you did not like. It wasn't the food that was important. It was the aspect that they were offering it to you that was important. And it was your acceptance or rejection of it that was important. That is a really great way to show relationships in your characters. Is there a character that is welcomed at the dinner table? Is there one that is not? I'll give you guys an example from my work in progress. Ani is a samok, so he is considered an outcast by most people, but he has been accepted to be trained. And in training, they all share meals together to build camaraderie. And in their meals, you pass food to people that you care about. So the food is in the center of the table where everybody can reach it. But if you want to show compassion to someone, you will take their plate or the food in front of them and pass it to them. Now, Ani has gained allies in this little group. He has some fellow trainees, I guess we'd call them squires in like our version, that have learned that him being a samok really doesn't mean anything. That it's all just, hot air. It's an old prejudice. And so they will pass food to him and engage him in conversation. Then there is Aldi, who is the son of Captain Valen. And he does not like Ani. He views Ani as beneath him. So if he is passing food to someone else, he will deliberately either pass it in front of Ani or over him to show, I don't view you as being in my circle. You are outside of my circle. So that's another way that you can kind of show relationships and rivalries and things like that at the dinner table. The other thing is we have a lot of different traditions that we do at the dinner table. Like when I was growing up, you always pass food to the right. You don't sit with your elbows on the table, things like that. And I know in other cultures, it can rely on who eats first. Does the man eat first? Does the woman eat first? Does not matter. And is that a reflection of religious beliefs? Is it a reflection of in rough times we want to make sure the children have more food? What does it tell you about their history? And history and old traditions are essentially psychological makeup. What causes people to act the way they do? What causes them to think the way they do? And your history is built up not just of your own personal history, but of your world's history, of your culture's history. So I think the dinner table is an awesome way to incorporate that. So that's just my own little world building tip. So if you guys think this was helpful, let me know. Or if you have other comments, just leave them below. I always love to hear from you guys. I upload twice a week, once at the beginning of the week, once at the end of the week. But if you don't want to miss when I upload, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you get notified whenever a new video goes up. And as always, if you guys have any suggestions or any topics you would like me to address, just let me know. And until next time, take care, stay safe, have a good one.